Hey everyone, today's going to be a little bit of a different video. Instead of doing one of our regularly scheduled FNAF theories, instead, let's mix it up a bit. Instead, I want to talk about the Coffin of Andy and LeyLey, or as some of y'all may know it as, the incest game. Which to that I have to say, yeah, incest is totally the worst thing in the game. Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, chapter 3 of the Decay route recently came out and I figured, hey, there seems to be a lot of little mysteries here, little tiny untied loose ends. What if we go ahead and try to tie them up ourselves before the release of chapter 4? In other words, we're doing a theory. A game theory. Because I know damn well Tom won't ever be touching his British hands on this game. And so instead, it's up to me, Great Value Matt Pat, to take matters into my own hands. So without further ado, let's start theorizing about the good old cannibalism, incest, suicide cult game. Actually, before we get into the meat of things, let me first give y'all a little bit of a summary of what the Coffin of Andy and LeyLey really is, because although a lot of y'all watching this video may already know, I can assure you that the people who are subscribed to my channel probably don't. The Coffin of Andy and LeyLey isn't meant to be a feel-good game. It is psychological horror for a reason. You follow Andrew and Ashley, two siblings 22 and 21 years old who are stuck inside of their apartment because supposedly the water in their apartment was contaminated. As you can probably guess by the way I said supposedly, this is all just a bunch of bullshit and really they're gonna get their organs harvested if they don't escape. So with the power of cannibalism and demon summoning, they managed to kill their neighbor, kill the warden, kill this random lady, and escape, where they then proceed to track down their parents, kidnap their parents, sacrifice their parents, kill their parents, eat their parents.
I ate my grandma!
All with sexual undertones. All of which surprisingly connecting deeply into the internal struggles of moving past their really fucked up childhood trauma, metaphorically shown through the nicknames of Andy and LeyLey. Hence the name, you know, Coffin of Andy and LeyLey. But that was only chapters 1 and 2. In the brand new chapter 3, Ashley continues going deeper into her pact with the demon, which causes Andrew to either in one route find even bigger demon, which ends on a cliffhanger, or you could go ahead and get the shots and such ending, where Andrew says, fuck it. And by it, I mean Ashley. You beat your sister, marry your sister, and accidentally get her pregnant. Whoopsies, how did that happen? So yeah, like I said, psychological horror. You're not supposed to look at these two siblings and go, man, I totally approve of what they're doing. They're such good citizens. It's made to make you feel uncomfortable. LeyLey, the game's creator, does not give a fuck, and I respect it. That's honestly the best and quickest way I can give you a summary of the game, but if you're wanting more of a deeper analysis, then I really recommend checking out Danny DNA's videos. That man can get like deep into the psychology of their characters and how it affects their story. But that's not what we're here for. Let's go ahead and talk some theories. Chapter 3 truly did wonders in terms of world building. Not only did we get an even bigger family tree for Andy and Ashley, but we also got to see a bit more of the demon realm and the inner workings of this game's sort of supernatural rules, you could call it. Like throughout most of chapters 1 and 2, anytime the demon realm was mentioned or shown, it was mainly to either progress the plot forward or to emphasize whatever's happening currently mentally with Andrew or Ashley. I mean, we did already know that apparently Ashley is a tar soul and that Andrew's a grime soul, whatever those two terms may be, but we only now seem to be getting clues to what those two terms actually mean. During chapter 3's cliffhanger ending, Andrew finally meets back up with Lord Unknown. During this encounter, Lord Unknown makes some noteworthy comments, to say the least. You're still just a grime soul? I expected you to have hatched by now. With the way he speaks about it, it seems like being a grime soul is really just one step away to being something even greater. Or worse, for that matter. So then what could he mean by hatching? Well, let's take a look at chapter 2's burial ending. The events of this ending is pretty much the exact same as the Decay route. There are only two major differences. First off, with Andrew and Ashley's demeanor. Obviously, in the Decay route, they're more distant towards each other, but in the burial route, they're more or less getting along. However, also in the burial route, as Andrew has one last cigarette, he notices a mole on his hand. A mole which suspiciously also turns into a weird weird demon looking eye. Could this be the start of his GRIME soul hatching? Well, if so, then what caused him to start hatching in this route and not the Decay route? Well, although there are a lot of little moments and differences between the chapter 2 burial and Decay routes, by far the two biggest differences would have to be that in the burial route, Andrew watched the vision with Ashley and also took part in eating their parents. And although both of these moments do need deeper analyzation, I don't think either one of those is the main cause for Andrew's hatching. On one hand, when they eat their parents, depending on which route you're in, there is a chance that Ashley will just straight up talk about how eating people is like eating their souls and it gives her power, which is so specific and out of the blue that it's practically LeyLey screaming at us about the story importance of Ashley's cannibalism. But whether or not Andrew eats with her this time shouldn't make too much of a difference, considering that he already did eat human body parts back in chapter 1. So instead, let's turn our attention to the other major difference in the burial route: Ashley and Andrew sharing the vision together. With how surprising this scene may get as it goes on, it may be easy to forget why they're in this position in the first place, why they are sharing the vision together. Because believe it or not, it actually wasn't originally Andrew or Ashley's idea. It was Ashley's demon that offered that Andrew should join them in the vision. One super little yet very important detail in the burial route of chapter 2. So why would this time around the demon take an extra interest into Andrew? Well, if the other demon, Lord Unknown, could tell that Andrew was a GRIME soul, it would make sense that Ashley's demon can also see Andrew's soul, and in this route see that he is about to hatch. If this is true, then it tells us that Andrew has already begun hatching way before we even realized, before he even cannibalized his parents. Which leads me to believe that the true reason Andrew is hatching isn't because of one necessarily big specific thing that he did, but instead it could be more about his own mentality and mental state. After all, the demon realm has always been closely tied to personifying its visitors' mental state of mind. After all, anytime Andrew or Ashley visit, they're always going through places or having to do puzzles that are representative of either their past, their memories, or what their current mindset is. If we are to believe that this idea stretches out to the souls and demons themselves, then it would make perfect sense why Andrew is only hatching now in the burial route, considering that is the route where he begins to truly accept the fucked up person he actually is and doesn't try to cling on to this false sense of sanity like in the Decay route. But all this to say that he still hasn't completely accepted who he really is. After all, we really only start the burial route technically near the end of chapter 2. We're only starting to lay the groundwork for him to start accepting it in the future, just like he's only now starting to hatch. But this isn't the only evidence we have towards Andrew hatching specifically due to his change in mental state, because in a specific point in chapter 3, LeyLey goes out of her way to explain how human souls alter based off of how you as an individual see yourself, which at first may seem like an odd world-building choice. After all, this means that if there's somebody who did a lot of good in their life but still perceived themselves as a bad person, that means that their soul is still bad. Why would LeyLey go out of her way to point out this weirdly specific detail, unless if it further proves the more supernatural power Andrew has based off of how he perceives himself? Meaning that of course he would only start hatching when he begins to perceive himself in a new light, because when he changes who he thinks he is literally changing his soul, which on top of further supporting my claim could also be giving us the true meaning of a GRIME soul, an individual who is yet to accept the awful or crazy person that they are, or the power that they wield in their wickedness. But nonetheless, even with these answers, we are still left with one last question. Hatching into what? What exactly would a GRIME soul be hatching into? Well, I think this answer has been right in front of us this entire time. A tar soul. That's right, just like Ashley currently is, by the time Andrew fully hatches, he too will be a tar soul. And to show you why, let's look back at what Lord Unknown told Andrew during the chapter 3 cliffhanger route. While Lord Unknown is snooping through Andrew's memories, at one point he stops to point out that Ashley is a tar soul and ask where she is. He is interested in utilizing Ashley just like how Ashley's demon is. This tells us that in general, a tar soul seems to be really valuable to demons. And while else would Lord Unknown want to take in Andrew specifically so he can hatch, if it wasn't that he was about to hatch into a tar soul himself? And speaking of which, let's turn our attention to the most tariest of tar souls herself, Ashley. Ashley is definitely a weird case because in chapter 3 when Andrew steals the trinket from her, we get to see what presumably may be her demon form? A weird black blob with tons and tons of hands, definitely not looking like any of the other souls any of the humans would have throughout this game. So the fuck is this? In fact, whenever we see Andrew's soul, that shit be looking pretty weird as well. Although, if anything, Andrew's does seem like a mix between the normal human soul and a tar soul like the likes of Ashley, which could further convey the idea that the GRIME soul is just a tar soul before it's been fully hatched. But that aside, going back to Ashley's soul's design, the reason she looks like this may have to do with what she said back in chapter 2 about how whenever she eats people, it's almost as if she's taking their life essence or their power. It seems like this could have genuinely been giving Ashley's soul even more power the more she's done it, which honestly makes me wonder if she looks like this as a tar soul, then could a tar soul eventually evolve into a full-on demon? After all, her soul's design looks extremely similar to the demons that we end up seeing throughout the game. All she's missing is a few more eyes, which honestly she may be making up for with all her hands. So what does this mean for the future of Ashley? Will she go on to become a demon by the end of this game? Well, although that's definitely a possibility, let's not forget the other tar soul we know, the Surgeon. For those of y'all who don't know who the Surgeon is, essentially the Surgeon is the reason that Andrew and Ashley and tons of other humans were locked in their apartments, ready to get their organs harvested. Literally, whenever we first meet this guy, one of the first pieces of dialogue we see from this guy is, "Fuck, I love organs." While Andrew and Ashley are exploring one of the rooms that Ashley's demon has, they uncover a little rock with an eye on it that is labeled Tar Soul. The way it's packaged almost makes it look like some sort of novelty, or like something you'd sell on like the demon market or some shit. Whenever Ashley accidentally drops it, she activates a memory from the Surgeon. It's honestly really odd. What is this little new trinket, and why does the demon have it? And come to think of it, that's not the only weird thing this demon has. Did you ever wonder why the demon just randomly has this completely other room set up, all filled with different human needs such as a bath, a bed, and other things that a demon wouldn't need? It's almost like this demon had a human living with him before Andrew and Ashley. Could it be the Surgeon, another tar soul, one person who we know for a fact was killing tons of people, harvesting their organs, but if he was also once involved in the demon's shenanigans before being tricked and reduced into this weird pebble looking thing? Could this also be what Ashley's demon plans to do to her? Probably reduce her to nothing more than just some weird expensive pebble that can unlock memories? Honestly, we may have to wait till the release of chapter 4 to find out. If you're watching this as a genuine fan of the Coffin of Vandy and LeyLey, then I hope I've been able to shed some useful light on possibly where the future is going to go, or to help you get a better understanding of the different soul types and whatever the fuck all that means. But if you're watching this just cause it's my channel and not knowing what the fuck a Coffin of Vandy and LeyLey is, then thank you for watching until the end, and I really recommend you go play this game for yourself. There was a reason I was very vague with my summary at the beginning of this video, so that way you guys can still go and enjoy the rest of the game. Make sure to hit that like button like how Andrew's grandfather hits him, and I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.
Like you and your sister.
What about my sister?
You definitely F your sister. She's hot.
I've never effed my sister!
Dude, you definitely are into it.